negotiators. That's like these dudes.
It's overkill cheese.
But I heard him pretty good.
Ah shit.
Oh,
He's still
shit.
alive? He's on your side, right?
Yeah,
Hold on,
about
chicken.
Yeah, he's
Got him?
stripped the armor, but he's still got health.
you're dead.
And you got a headshot? Mm.
Everlasting gaze is active. Not surviving it, bro.
Watch that negotiator.
Wow, don't get shot. Get down, get down. One's coming up. Got him. One's bleeding hard over there. Ghost, stay down. He tagged me. Oh, I'm about to get you over there, boy.
Behind you.
What's up?
He's down.
Chicken, let me up. Chicken.
Got two of them down.
Yep.
Don't get shot. He tagged me. Just stay down until it goes away.
Two of them
Up.
bleeding.
Got gaze on him. I got the everlasting gaze on him.
Do we want that supply that dropped?
Better get out of there, boy.
Oh man.
Nobody's pulling out. The fight goes on.
Please, so strong.
Behind us.
Rogue fixer drone detected.
Yeah, fuck it.
Coming up, coming up.
Yeah, one of them's we're a negotiator. Fuck it. He's still bleeding, dude.
Yo, he's going over for the boost.
Alright, watch out.
Rogue stealer hive detected.
The one who flanked me, he's right there. Watch out, y'all. He's down.
I knocked one of them. There's two in the street still.
Alright. Pick your minds on him. Both of them.
I see him.
Oh, explosive delivery, baby. Explosive delivery, baby. Get down, boy. Whew.
Good shit.
Wrecked.
Bro, this Predmark skill build, dog. Oh my god. This junk is crazy. Got creeping death. That was an intense match, too.
Shit, I think I died once.
Okay, here we go. That should get their attention. Head to the service entrance on the east side of the building.
What is up, YouTube? P Righteous here, and you know I had to come out with this one. The first version of this I made was the most viewed I've ever uploaded, so I said to myself, why not make a skill version of it? If you haven't checked out the first version yet, here's the link. It's a great build. And if it's your first time here and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, then don't hesitate. Also, please drop a like so this video can be shared as much as possible. The Predator's Mark skill build takes bleed to another level. When that specific status is the main aspect of this build, it is very dangerous. So if you don't have hazard protection, there's absolutely no hope for you. Some of the gear pieces I've farmed for this build are for optimal performance, and they were difficult to get. It's not that you gotta do a legendary or raid, but these particular pieces to get the drop in this particular way is rare. So if you do, then the grind was well worth it. Predator's Mark has always been one of my main builds I used in Division 1. So any way I can expound on this build concept will be welcomed anytime. The way this bleed spreads is crazy, and I'm gonna show you how right now. Alright, let's do this. I'm so excited about this one right here, y'all. How are y'all doing today? I'm in a particularly good mood this morning. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of this build, but we'll see. So, the specialization I'm going with is Technician. You know I make a lot of builds with Technician, but that's for a reason. This specialization has so many perks to it. If you're not going to use anything, at least you can use the Technician linked laser, the Pulse. the laser that allows you to pulse enemies and is very valuable, especially in PvP. And also if you don't want to be too squishy, or if you want to do a little bit more damage but still maintain more skill tier, it gives you that extra skill tier to help out, and it gives you 10% more skill damage. I mean, it's just great. So I call this the Predator's Mark skill build. I made the DPS version with Survivalist, and if you want to check that out, go ahead. It was reasons why I did it with Survivalist, but this one had to be done with Technician, and you're going to see why right now. Okay, so the primary weapon I'm going with is the Vector SBR. This is not the strongest Vector by any means. The tactical Vector SBR is the strongest, but a couple reasons why I'm using this is because it has a long barrel. That means I can use it with the Technician laser, so I can spot enemies and pulse them for my team whenever I aim at them. Optimal range isn't bad, especially in SMGs, because they naturally just have a shorter range. Especially since this isn't a crit build, I could work with optimal range. You want to roll Sadist on this because when they're bleeding, you get 20% damage to bleeding enemies, and the fire rate really helps as well. Alright guys, the first time I'm making a build with the Pestilence. I just think it's best in slot for a secondary. I mean, I don't use it that much. I honestly use it mostly in PvE because PvP is a lot more faster. You know, I'm not doing as much damage with this as somebody who would have more DPS, but this is really good for sustained damage and applying an extra bleed on top of the crazy strong bleed you already have. So this applies to Plague of the Outcast. It's a debuff applying 100% damage over 10 seconds, and it stacks up to 50 times. This is OP if you could just sit there and get your stacks on a shield or somebody who's tanky. Yeah, it's pretty OP. And I just have the Maxim 9 with Perfect Spike, and I mean, if you want to pull this out and get an extra 25% skill damage, you can. It'll be great for your bleed damage. On to the build, y'all. Now, like I said in the description, some of these pieces were hard to farm. By that, I mean that ongoing directive always comes as a weapon tier. And with ongoing directive, the 2-piece gives you 15% status effects. Now, you want to maximize your status effects on this to increase the bleed damage and duration as much as possible. Ongoing directive is one of the best in slot to do that. Now, because it comes already as a weapon tier, you need to find these pieces that already have status effects rolled on it so you can roll one skill tier. Then you have the skill tier plus the status effects. And the reason why I don't have 4-piece ongoing directive like on a DPS version is because this gear set, like all gear sets, only have one attribute stat, so it's kind of limited. So you only want this for the 2-piece to enable status effects. Everything else on this build is optimized for the best bleed outcome. For the chest piece, I'm running a Wyvern specifically for the skill damage and status effects. My ideal role on this would be skill damage, but this is how it came, and I had to roll status effects, and you need explosive delivery. Okay, the way that I run this is so annoying, man. You get an explosion whenever you throw a skill on the ground. It does about the same amount of damage as a concussion grenade, and you only get 1 per skill. But if somebody jams your hive after you throw it on the ground, or your seeker mine, you could just throw it again, because the hive refills like 1 stinger charge every couple seconds. So as soon as you get 1 charge, you can throw it again and you get another explosion. So you can be very aggressive. If anybody's in that radius, then a stinger charge automatically comes out and all you need is 1. And the way that this bleed spreads is nuts, man. This isn't even optimized, and I'm just putting people down so fast that they have to put on hazard protection or it's over with. Once I show you the backpack talent, you'll see why this is so devastating. And it being a tier 6 makes it even worse. I've been wanting to make a build with explosive delivery for a long time. I just didn't know what build to implement it into, and this is perfect for it. The holster, another ongoing directive for the second piece for the 15% status effects. That's pretty much it for this piece. The backpack is my second piece of Wyvern, and this is the talent I was talking about, Creeping Death. The first time I made a build with Creeping Death, and I don't see many of you out there using this talent. You should, because this got buffed like 3 weeks ago or a month ago or something like that. It got buffed to 8 meters, and it used to be 4, I think 4 or 5. Comment down below and let me know what the radius was. I don't remember. But now when you apply a status effect, it also applies the same status to enemies within 8 meters of the target that's affected. The cooldown is 15 seconds. So if you throw your hive, if you throw your seeker mine in the middle of enemies and they bleed, everybody else are going to bleed with the same damage. So you can wipe full teams, as you've seen in that gameplay. I wiped a whole team one time just with the bleed. Creeping Death is also amazing when you run builds where you incorporate fire, because you set everybody on fire in the area. I got a build coming up with that too, so stay tuned. But yeah, the optimal roles you want to have on this is skill damage and status effects. I just wasn't able to get those roles on some of these pieces, but it's still crazy strong, even though it's not optimized fully. It's good that it's tier 6 though. And if you notice, I have 913k armor, and that's because I didn't want to be too squishy. And this is where the advantage of technician comes in, because you get that extra skill tier. If you want to be a little more tanky, you could throw an armor roll in there. If you want to do a little more weapon damage, you could throw a weapon tier in there. The gloves, firm handshake. I can't say this enough, you need skill damage, but I mean, whatever. If you can get status effects mainly on all your pieces, which I do have, then you don't have to worry about skill damage as much. It'll help you, but the status effects is what increases the bleed duration, is what increases the bleed damage. Because in my Predator's Mark DPS build, even though I had 0 skill tier, as long as I had status effects rolled, that's where the bleed damage was most effective. So I was doing damage with my weapon, and I was doing amazing damage with my bleed. This is even more because it's a tier 6 bleed build with status effects rolled on it. So in this build, I have 2 of the most optimal pieces that will allow me to get the most bleed. Ongoing directive 2-piece, 15%. Firm handshake, 15%. You can't get that anywhere else. Golan gear, knee pads. The Golan gear comes already defaulted with an armor core. So this is where I'm able to be a little bit more tanky, and I just rolled 10% status effects on here. The one piece gives you 10% already, so you get 20% just from this one piece. Alright y'all, the skills. I'm running the Stinger Hive. A full tier 6 Stinger Hive. Gives you 6 extra charges, 60% damage, 30% range, and 420% health. If this thing is overcharged, it'll be nuts. Only way you're going to take this down is by using a jammer pulse. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there with a huge radius and deal massive damage to anybody in sight. The refill speed is 2.8 seconds, and this is what I was talking about. When you throw it down, somebody jams it, but when you throw it in somebody's area, it's already going to cause that explosion and deal that first group of stinger charges before you could even jam it. And then once it's jammed, all you have to do is wait 2.8 seconds to get one charge, and you can throw it out again and get another explosion with explosive delivery. I'm going to be honest with you right now, the bleed ticks on this build are so strong, you will not survive. Period. It doesn't matter how much armor you have, you will not survive this bleed, along with the explosions you get from explosive delivery. The PvP damage here is 113k, and the damage is 700,000. With the last update, the devs buffed the bleed damage on NPCs. Now you could easily swap out Creeping Death with Wicked, but that's what I did on my DPS build. And this is more so a crowd control skill build. So whenever you drop this hive down, you want it to spread to everybody in sight. And that's what this does. My second skill is the Seeker Mine, explosive version. I get this back every 21 seconds. The damage this does in PvE is over 2 million, and in PvP is 400,000. Now remember, when you throw this down, you get 2 explosions because this is the explosive Seeker Mine and you have explosive delivery. So you throw this in somebody's area, you get an explosion from explosive delivery. They either get hit by that or they jump out of cover. Once they jump out of cover, it follows them, explodes again, and causes them to bleed. And if they're near anybody, they bleed too. And that's where your status effects come into effect. So the tier 6 on this gives you 60% increased damage and 30% radius. Man, you know how annoying it is when you're getting chased by a Seeker Mine that has a huge radius? You're lucky if you can get away from that, man. It happens to me so many times. Overcharge for this is kind of unreal. I mean, this is kind of cheating. 200% radius. You're not getting away from that. I don't care what anybody says. I'm actually going to try this with the Acosta's Go Bag just so I could see how big this radius is. And that is it for this build, y'all. I have so much fun with this build because you can create an area of denial where people are scared to come near you, because once they get in that radius, they're going to get tagged with Creeping Death and with that crazy strong bleed. With Sadist and the high fire rate of your SMG, you're going to be doing really good damage to them. I mean, even though this is a tier 6 skill build, the damage you do with your weapon is significant because of Sadist. Some people say that this is toxic, but you can counter this with hazard protection. I mean, if you have hazard protection, the bleed won't affect you at all, pretty much. Try this out, y'all. This is my go-to build when I'm going against those crazy DPS players that just like to rush in head first with deadly intent. I got something special waiting for them. Anyways, if this video helped you out in any way, then please drop a like and don't hesitate to subscribe. Join the Identity family. I love to have you here. I drop dedicated weekly content and builds, and you definitely won't be disappointed. So until I see you in my next video, be right out.